Wondering what you could be missing in your ancestors' vital records? We'll explore the common avoidable mistakes that could lead you astray when using vital records. Let's ensure that you get the most out of your genealogy research. Hey there, I'm Lisa Lisson, a genealogy expert with 15 years of experience helping others find their ancestors. Now on this YouTube channel, I'm sharing my best strategies, tools, and tips to help you find your ancestors and grow a healthy family tree, all without being overwhelmed. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. Today's video is sponsored by archives.com. Whether you are a beginner or seasoned researcher, Archives offers everything you need to embark on a genealogy journey. Archives focuses on a diverse range of records such as census, vital records, military records, and a newly added collection of enslavement articles. Serving as more than just a database, but a partner in your discoveries. Users can seamlessly attach records using the Family Tree Builder and unearth new details about their ancestors with the Discovery Engine. With users of all skill levels in mind, Archives offers affordability to everyone and operates completely independently from Ancestry.com. Archives assures a more focused collection at a lower price point, with many users discovering unique records not found elsewhere. If you're ready to dig deeper and find search tips, you'll want to check out their help page and expert advice on specific collections. Start your journey with Archives today to uncover the stories that connect to your past. I'll have a link in the description below. When we talk about researching vital records for our ancestors, what we're talking about are the birth, marriage, and death records. They are foundational records that we use in genealogy research, providing an official documentation of these significant life events. They not only help establish family connections, but they offer insights into the context of our ancestors' lives. But despite their importance, it is easy to make mistakes when using vital records as part of your research. And when we make mistakes, this can lead to inaccuracies in our family tree, and nobody wants that. But by being aware of the common mistakes you could be making and taking steps to verify and thoroughly analyze the information that you're finding in that vital record, you can improve the accuracy and the depth of your genealogy research. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 common avoidable mistakes that I see genealogy researchers making when looking at those vital records. Now, as we go through these mistakes, we're going to be over on archives.com, our sponsor of today's video, and I will be showing you talking you through these mistakes, showing you examples, and showing you also how to avoid these mistakes. Let's get started. All right, so we're over here at archives.com. And I want to start with our very first mistake that I see happen. The mistake is not actually looking for the actual vital record because you already know the dates. I've got a marriage record or marriage return records for Iowa pulled up, and I wanted to show you a couple things that you might miss if you did not go after the original record, whether a marriage certificate, a marriage return, an official record. There's a lot of information you could be missing, and I wanted to give you a good example of that. So let me just enlarge this a bit so we can see it a little bit better. We're going to be looking at this groom right here, George Griffin. This is actually the groom, and this is his person standing by him. So we have George Griffin, and he is marrying Minnie Ola. I think that says Seat, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to do a little research there. But what we find out here, a couple of things that we could be missing. When we're looking at George and we're looking at all of his information, again, reading each of the lines, we find out that this is actually a second marriage for him. So if you knew that George and Minnie had married and you knew the dates, you had good oral history for that, and you did not go for the official record, you might not realize that this was a second marriage for him and you're missing a first wife in your family tree. If you come on over to Minnie, same thing here. We find out that Minnie, while she is still is younger than George, this is also her second marriage. And if you did not know that, you could be missing a first husband out of your tree. So do not overlook the importance of getting an official record, even when you know the date or you know part of the story. Now, the second very common mistake is not reading the document thoroughly. We alluded to that in that first record, certainly that we saw, but here's an example of a death certificate. This is Alex Bowen. It is a death certificate out of Chatham County, Georgia. Now, again, every piece of information here, every box, every line that's filled out is important, but there are 2 places that we often miss or don't recognize the importance of when it comes to looking at that death certificate. And this could really impact your research in the future. Now, one of the big first places people overlook is this spot down here. Let me raise it up a little bit. And this says, this is the informant. So this person who is providing all of this personal information on the deceased. And in this case, his name is Aaron Bowen. That matches the name. It appears to be the father of Alex given that information. The fact that Aaron would have known his son, obviously, very well, means that this information is probably quite accurate. Sometimes this line, the reason this is important is that sometimes on this line, the person given the information might be a next door neighbor. It could be somebody who doesn't know the deceased as well and might not know all of the information, or it could be more likely to be incorrect. Another place that is often missed is this over here, which is the place of burial for the deceased. This is important because it often will give us sometimes just a town, and that at least helps us get close to finding the answers, but sometimes it'll give you this specific cemetery. And that's important because you want to know why the deceased is buried there, if he is your ancestor, and you want to know if there were other family in that same cemetery, if not that same cemetery plot. So it's a way to potentially find other generations within the family. So these two spots are often overlooked. Make sure you are paying attention and reading these documents thoroughly. All right, so let's talk about mistake number 3 that I see happen quite a bit. And that is, well, taking that record at face value and not questioning what you're seeing in that record if things look a little off. Now, she died in 1927 in Wake County, North Carolina. She was actually from Lee County, North Carolina. So I'm going to actually enlarge this so you can see it a little bit better. Now, there are some things that definitely jumped out at me on this. Now, what we already did know, and you notice here that she did die at the state hospital. Maddie had some type of psychological illness. We actually now believe from oral history and piecing together the very few facts that I had, and based on her psychosis diagnosis, we actually think she may have died of a brain tumor, but we're not 100% sure. But in looking at this particular death certificate, there's some things that jumped out at me. And certainly the first one is, obviously there's a story here because she died in a hospital in 1927 here in Raleigh. She was from Lee County. She'd only been there 6 days, so that's how long she was at that address. Most of this looks pretty standard. Her gender, her color, her race, she was married. But here's something interesting. She's married, but there is no husband listed. Her husband was very much alive at this point, definitely. So, in fact, I knew him. I knew him personally. He was my great-grandfather. So she was 45 years old. Obviously, her occupation was an inmate at the hospital, so she was, a patient. She was born in Chatham County. That was correct. And they did have her parents, James Maddox and Martha Lett. So all correct, things I knew. But if one thing you want to know when you're looking at this, again, remember, no husband was mentioned, yet there's a husband and children very much alive at this time point, is that the informant, look at this informant is the records from the state hospital. So the family wasn't really giving this information, the records. They pulled it from the records of the state hospital. And so whatever records they had were not complete, basically. So that's an interesting thing. You might think, oh, there's no husband listed, he's left the family, he's gone, or whatever. And that's absolutely not true. He was very much alive. So there were some things that made me, he wasn't listed, no birth year listed, although we knew her age. And because it was coming from the state hospital, it made me question some of the accuracy of the personal data, and it was something that I did go ahead and confirm what I already knew with other records. So I had to cross-reference. Very important, guys. When something looks off, cross-reference it with other records. So the point here, when things don't look quite right, don't take it at face value, question it. What are those lines actually telling you? Now, mistake number 4 would be ignoring spelling variations when it comes to our ancestors. So it's very important that we recognize that in these vital records, oftentimes you would see a formal name, but you very well could see some nicknames appearing or you might see variations of spelling, how things are spelled differently. And so I wanted us to be aware of that. I've actually, in this case, pulled up a census record. I realized this is not a vital record, but it had a lot of names on here, and I wanted to kind of share these with you as we went through these. So this is 1950. It's out of Missouri. And what I wanted to show you was just the number of names and how names might be spelled differently. Again, so here we have like Sally B. Underwood. Sally, if you did not know, is a common nickname for Sarah. So you might, if you know that your aunt was always Sally, well, maybe look for her vital record under the name of Sarah, and don't be surprised if that's where you would find it. Pauline is obviously a full name. Down here, with the Talbot family, we have Dolly. Well, Dolly is a common nickname for Dorothy or Dolores, so that might be something to keep in mind as you're looking. Also, that name Talbot can be spelled multiple ways, Talbot. Oftentimes we'll see two T's on the end of it, or we might see Bert. So there's lots of variations that we might see and still recognize. So I want to make sure we're keeping an open mind when it comes to spelling and name variations on that as well. Now, the fifth mistake that I often see is overlooking or not recognizing human error that has occurred within that document. So that in other words, the clerk or whoever is creating and writing the document down has created an error in that, and we are missing that or not recognizing that error. Because vital records, well, like any other record that we might see in our genealogy research, can contain errors. These types of errors could be an incorrect date or a missing date, as we saw in a previous document, misspelled names, or wrong locations. And these mistakes can occur due to clerical errors, miscommunication, and sometimes even intentional alterations. I think some of the women in my family may have fibbed a little bit on some of the ages when it came to putting down mothers' ages on those birth certificates for the children. Not really sure, but I do think some of them may have intentionally done that. But the point here is, when you encounter a discrepancy in a vital record, or any record, consider the possibility of human error. And when you suspect a human error has occurred, it is imperative that you then cross-reference that vital record with other records to determine the most likely scenario that occurred. There you have it. By avoiding these common mistakes, you are going to be a better researcher, you're going to be more accurate, and you're going to have a lot more confidence when you go searching for those vital records and interpreting those vital records. Now, if you would like to learn more about your ancestors' vital records, and specifically death records, watch Stop Overlooking Vital Clues on Your Ancestors' Death Certificate. It's on your screen now.